For most people, a family reunion meant food, awkward conversations, and trying to remember the names of cousins they hadn't seen in years. For me, it apparently meant being grounded at the age of 30. The annual gathering was already in full swing when I arrived. More than 30 relatives filled my aunt's oversized backyard. Kids ran around with water guns, uncles argued about sports, and aunts exchanged gossip with the efficiency of intelligence agencies. I had barely stepped through the gate before the questions started. "There he is! Still working from home? When are you getting married? Do you ever leave your computer?" I smiled politely and accepted the usual barrage. After years of practice, I had developed a survival strategy. Nod. Smile. Change the subject. Repeat. Unfortunately, my father had apparently decided that this reunion was the perfect opportunity to perform a public evaluation of my life choices. Throughout dinner, he criticized everything. My job wasn't a real job. My apartment was too small. My hobbies were childish. The fact that I wasn't married yet was apparently a personal attack against the entire family tree. Each comment earned laughter from relatives who were enjoying the free entertainment. I kept my cool. That only seemed to annoy him more. The breaking point came when he asked why I hadn't taken his advice and joined his friend's construction company years ago. I calmly explained that my current career paid significantly better and allowed me to work on projects I actually enjoyed. Several cousins snickered. My father crossed his arms. "You always think you know everything." "No," I replied. "I just know what works for me." The table went silent. For a moment I thought the conversation might end there. I was wrong. My father stood up dramatically enough to deserve his own reality television show. "As long as you're under my roof," he announced loudly, pointing directly at me, "you're grounded." The backyard exploded with laughter. I blinked. A 30-year-old man? Grounded. In front of 30 relatives. One uncle nearly fell out of his chair laughing. A cousin wiped tears from her eyes. Someone actually clapped. Then the suggestions started. "No television for a week. Take away his phone. Make him do extra chores. Early bedtime." My aunt laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. Even I had to fight the urge to laugh. The entire situation was so ridiculous that it felt like I had accidentally wandered into a sitcom. My father, unfortunately, was completely serious. "You'll stay upstairs for the rest of the evening." I looked around at the crowd. Every face wore the same expression. They expected an argument. A confrontation. A dramatic family showdown. Instead, I stood up calmly. "Okay." The laughter instantly weakened. My father looked confused. "Okay? Sure," I said. "I'm grounded." I picked up my drink and headed toward the house. Behind me, relatives whispered. Apparently my refusal to argue had ruined half the entertainment value. Upstairs, I sat on the guest bed and checked my messages. A notification immediately appeared. It was from Lyra. We had spent months talking through an interstellar communications network connected to a diplomatic research project. She lived light years away, possessed an incredible sense of humor, and somehow understood me better than most people on Earth. Her message appeared. "How is the family gathering?" I stared at the screen for a moment before typing. "I've been placed under house arrest." Several seconds passed. Then her reply arrived. "What crime did you commit?" "Existing while 30. A full minute went by before another message appeared. I imagined her laughing so hard she couldn't type. Human families are fascinating. Before I could answer, another notification appeared. My cousin Megan had tagged me in a social media post. Curious, I opened it. The video showed my father standing dramatically beside the dinner table. It captured every second. The speech. The pointing finger. The grounding. The laughter. The title she had added made it even worse. POV, you're 30 and your dad still thinks you're 12. I shook my head and tossed my phone onto the bed. At least a few relatives would get a laugh out of it. I had no idea that by morning, millions of people would be laughing too. I slept through the beginning of my rise to internet fame. While I was peacefully dreaming about absolutely nothing, the video my cousin uploaded was quietly spreading across social media like a wildfire that had discovered energy drinks. At first, people thought it was a comedy sketch. Thousands shared it because they assumed nobody could possibly ground a 30-year-old man with a straight face. Then viewers realized something important. My father wasn't joking. That realization transformed the video from mildly funny to legendary. Comments poured in by the thousands. Someone check if this guy has a bedtime too. Did Dad also take away his PlayStation? I need an update. Has he earned TV privileges back yet? Free this man. Within hours, complete strangers were arguing over my fictional punishment schedule. One user created a fake parole application for grounded adults. Another designed a digital certificate titled, Official Survivor of Extreme Parenting. By midnight, memes had completely taken over. Meanwhile, I remained blissfully unaware. Several light years away, however, Lyra was very aware. She had watched the video 3 times. Then 5 more. Then she shared it with several coworkers. The result was immediate chaos. Apparently, explaining human family relationships to aliens was significantly harder than expected. One colleague asked if Earth parents legally owned their adult children. Another wanted to know if grounding was a formal human prison system. A third was convinced my father was some kind of regional king exercising authority over his subjects. Lyra spent nearly an hour trying to explain that human families were simply complicated. Their confusion only made the video funnier. My phone buzzed repeatedly throughout the night. Messages. Notifications. Mentions. Tags. Shares. The internet was having the time of its life. At around 3 a.m, Lyra sent another message. I happened to be awake for that one. My punishment must be preventing sleep. Her response arrived instantly. How severe is your sentence? Very serious. I may lose snack privileges. Several seconds passed. Then another message appeared. I am trying to determine whether you are joking. Honestly, so am I. Her laughter practically jumped through the screen. Over the past several months, our conversations had become the highlight of my days. What started as professional communication through an interstellar networking project had slowly transformed into friendship. And friendship had quietly become something more. She was intelligent, funny, curious, and completely unimpressed by status or wealth. Most importantly, she understood my sense of humor. Not everyone did. She sent another message. You handled the situation well. I looked at the screen. I didn't do anything. Exactly. Most people would have started a fight. I smiled despite myself. Maybe. You stayed calm. That is surprisingly attractive. I stared at the message for several seconds. Then reread it. Twice. My heart suddenly developed strong opinions about gravity. Before I could respond, another flood of notifications interrupted me. Curiosity finally got the better of me. I opened the video. The view count had crossed 5 million. I blinked. Then refreshed. 6 million. Another refresh. 7 million. The comments section had become its own civilization. People were creating entire fictional stories about my grounding. Some claimed I had missed curfew. Others insisted I had been caught sneaking cookies before dinner. One particularly creative user suggested my father had grounded me for refusing to clean my room in 2008. The hashtag #FreeTheGroundedGuy was now trending. Merchandise had somehow appeared. Actual merchandise. T-shirts. Coffee mugs. Stickers. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or hire a lawyer. Then I saw another notification. A major entertainment account had reposted the video. Then another. Then another. The numbers kept climbing. 10 million. 15 million. 20 million. I sat there staring at my phone while messages poured in faster than I could read them. The entire internet seemed determined to adopt me as its favorite victim. And as the sun slowly began rising outside the window, one thing became very clear. My family had laughed at me the night before. By morning, the whole world was laughing at them instead. The atmosphere at breakfast felt completely different from the night before. Less than 12 hours earlier, everyone had been laughing at me. Now they were staring at their phones in absolute horror. I walked into the kitchen carrying a cup of coffee and immediately noticed something strange. Nobody was talking. In a family this large, silence usually meant either a natural disaster or somebody had accidentally revealed Grandma's secret cookie recipe. My father sat at the table looking exhausted. One uncle was refreshing social media every few seconds. An aunt appeared ready to throw her phone into the nearest river. My cousin Megan looked increasingly nervous. That alone told me everything I needed to know. "Good morning," I said. 30 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Nobody laughed. Interesting. "What happened?" I asked innocently. Megan groaned. "Please don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like you don't know." I took a sip of coffee. "I genuinely don't know." My father slowly pushed his phone across the table. The screen displayed a compilation video. Not just the original recording. A compilation. Someone had added dramatic music, slow motion effects, sound effects, animated prison bars. The title read, "Grounding a 30-year-old son goes horribly wrong." I nearly choked on my coffee. The view count had climbed beyond 30 million. Every major social platform was discussing it. Reaction channels were analyzing it. Comedians were joking about it. News websites were writing articles. One talk show host had apparently dedicated an entire segment to the world's most famous grounding. My father looked miserable. "People keep recognizing me." I blinked. "What?" "At the gas station." My uncle nodded. "They recognized him at the bakery too." My aunt covered her face. "The cashier asked if he gives adults a curfew." I couldn't help it. I laughed. That made everyone glare at me. Which somehow made it even funnier. The family spent the next hour attempting increasingly ridiculous solutions. One uncle suggested deleting social media. Another suggested contacting every person on the internet and asking them politely to stop. Someone actually proposed turning off Wi-Fi worldwide. The meeting resembled a group of medieval villagers trying to defeat modern technology with positive thinking. Meanwhile, my phone continued exploding with notifications. Podcast invitations, interview requests, brand sponsorship offers, message after message after message. Apparently becoming the internet's favorite grounded adult had real earning potential. Then something even stranger happened. A notification arrived from Lyra. Actually, several notifications. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Confused, I opened our chat. "You are famous." I noticed. "No. You are interplanetary famous." I stared at the message. "What?" She immediately sent a video link. The recording had somehow reached her entire communications network. Millions of alien viewers were watching. Millions. I opened the attached comments. The translations were incredible. "Human male remains calm despite social defeat. Earth father displays dominant nesting behavior. Why does adult offspring not challenge tribe leader?" I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Lyra called moments later. Her face appeared on the screen, smiling brightly. "I warned my colleagues humans were unusual." "Unusual? They now believe your species can transform humiliation into entertainment. Honestly, that's not entirely wrong." Her laughter filled the room through the speakers. Even after months of communication, hearing it still made me smile. There was something effortless about talking to her. Something comfortable. Something that felt increasingly dangerous to my heart. "You know," she said, "most people would be angry." "About what?" "The video. The embarrassment." I shrugged. "Life's too short." Her expression softened. "I like that about you." For a moment neither of us spoke. The noise from the family faded into the background. Then she smiled. "I have more news." "Good news or terrifying news?" Possibly both. That answer immediately concerned me. She leaned closer toward the screen. My company loved your response to the situation. I didn't really respond. Exactly. They found that fascinating. I wasn't sure how to react to that. Then she delivered the sentence that completely changed the direction of my day. I've been approved for a diplomatic visit to Earth. I froze. What? I'll be arriving next week. The room suddenly felt smaller. My family continued arguing about internet damage control while my brain stopped functioning. Lyra smiled at my expression. I thought it would be nice to finally meet in person. For the first time since this entire ridiculous adventure began, I found myself completely speechless. And somehow, becoming a worldwide meme suddenly seemed like the least important thing happening in my life. A week later, my family gathered once again. This time nobody was interested in making jokes. The internet had spent 7 consecutive days reminding them why that was a bad idea. The original video had crossed 100 million views. Reaction videos appeared daily. Merchandise sales were somehow still increasing. People continued sending me photos of themselves wearing shirts that read, "Officially grounded at 30." My father had become one of the most recognizable accidental memes on Earth. At first he hated it. Then he hated it more. Then he eventually reached the acceptance stage of emotional survival. The final stage apparently involved refusing to enter grocery stores without sunglasses. That morning everyone crowded into the living room waiting for the arrival of Earth's newest diplomatic visitors. Nobody was more nervous than my father. He kept adjusting his shirt every 30 seconds. My aunt had baked enough food to feed a small nation. My cousins were trying to act normal and failing miserably. Then the doorbell rang. The room instantly became silent. I opened the door. And there she was. For months I had seen her through screens and communication channels. Meeting her in person was completely different. She was beautiful, confident, elegant, and smiling directly at me. For a second my brain completely forgot how language worked. Fortunately she laughed. "Hello, famous human." That restored my ability to breathe. "Hello, interplanetary celebrity." Her smile widened. The chemistry we had built through countless conversations appeared instantly. Natural. Effortless. Real. Behind me, my relatives watched in stunned silence. One cousin actually dropped a cookie. Another nearly walked into a wall. My father looked as if reality itself had personally betrayed him. I introduced everyone. The family awkwardly greeted our alien guest. To my surprise, she handled the chaos perfectly. Within minutes she was laughing with my aunts, teasing my cousins, and charming everyone in the room. Everyone except my father. He remained nervous. Eventually he approached me. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he sighed. "I owe you an apology." The room became quiet again. I looked at him. He looked older than he had a week earlier. Not physically. Just tired. Embarrassed. Human. "I shouldn't have treated you like a child." I waited. "I was wrong." The words clearly hurt him to say. Which made them valuable. I smiled. "It's okay." His eyes narrowed. "That's it? That's it? No speech? No. No revenge?" I laughed. "What would be the point?" For the first time in days, he actually smiled. Then he awkwardly cleared his throat. "I guess you're not grounded anymore." The entire room burst into laughter. Even he laughed. I pretended to consider it. "Do I get official documentation?" My father groaned. My cousins nearly fell off the couch. The tension that had haunted the family for a week finally disappeared. Later that evening, I sat outside watching the sunset. Lyra joined me. For a while we simply enjoyed the quiet. After everything that had happened, the silence felt nice. She gently bumped my shoulder. "You know, this may be the strangest diplomatic mission in history." "Because of the viral video?" "Because one human accidentally united millions of people through second-hand embarrassment." I laughed. "That's our greatest superpower." I thought human resilience was your greatest superpower. That too. She looked toward the house where my family continued arguing, laughing, and making far too much noise. Then she reached for my hand. Your family is chaotic. They're professionals. They are also lucky. I looked at her. Why? Because despite everything, you still love them. I smiled. She wasn't wrong. Families were complicated. Messy. Ridiculous. But they were still family. Inside the house, someone suddenly shouted that another meme compilation had been uploaded. My father's horrified scream followed immediately afterward. The entire backyard erupted with laughter. Lyra laughed too. Then she leaned closer and rested her head against my shoulder. At that moment, I realized something important. A week earlier, I had been publicly grounded in front of 30 relatives. Now I had a successful career, worldwide recognition, an incredible woman beside me, and enough viral fame to embarrass future generations of my family. Not a bad outcome for a man who had supposedly been sent to his room. And somewhere on the internet, millions of people were still laughing at the world's most famous grounding. This time, I was laughing with them.